Hello again. I'm Tim Loyola, and I'm so glad and grateful that you're taking a look at the second video in our journey through Ephesians. In this video, I just want to introduce you all to this very long, famous sentence in Ephesians 1 3 through 14, and I think it'll be well worth it. This is Imagine the Text, where we try to stay as closely connected to the text of Scripture as possible as the primary way to engage and stimulate our imaginations. We'll move into verse 3 in the next video, but before we do, I think it's extremely important for how we imagine it to recognize that it's actually the beginning of a sentence. A very long sentence, a sentence that extends all the way through verse 14. You can see how small I had to make the font size to fit this one sentence onto a single slide. I know you're well aware that all translations break up the text of Scripture by adding chapters and, as you see here, verses. And of course, that's very helpful for navigating and for reference. On top of that, translations break up long sentences like this one into multiple sentences. In the case of the NIV here, into 8 sentences. Again, this is very helpful because it makes a long sentence like this one easier to read and follow. I used to accuse Paul of writing run-on sentences. I believe now that I was dead wrong about that. A run-on sentence is 2 or more main or independent clauses joined without a word to connect them or a punctuation mark to separate them. I don't think Paul's long sentences fit this definition in any way. Let's take the qualification that they're clauses joined without a word to connect them. Here's my translation of verses 3 through 14. There is no connecting word to begin verse 3, so of course that's an independent clause. But from there on, Paul includes a connecting word at every point where the NIV broke for a new sentence. And this is not just the NIV, this is true no matter the translation. Every clause in this sentence is joined in some explicit way. Even the characteristic that a run-on sentence has 2 or more main or independent clauses, I don't think fits this long sentence. This becomes visually clear in the relational layout of this sentence. I first create relational layouts in Word and then transfer them to PowerPoint slides for the video. Creating a relational layout helps you see and imagine and decide and visually show how the different parts of the text are related to each other. When you come to a part that you decide isn't related to what came just before it, you put it at the very left margin. When you come to a related part, you indent it under the part it's related to. As you can see in the relational layout I created for this sentence, as I moved along, I did not find any unrelated part that I needed to put at the left margin. In fact, just the opposite. Every part related in such a way that I kept indenting further and further to the right. In our Western English 21st century culture, we would never write a sentence this long if we wanted a reader to understand what we were saying. In fact, I don't think I even have the ability to write a sentence this long, even if I tried. But there's a very high probability that we could and we would if we lived in Paul's world. Sentence structure and organization and logic rule the day for us when it comes to writing. Whereas people in Paul's day focused much more on how a text would sound and work when it was read, particularly out loud. A sentence, technically called a period, not the punctuation, but a period of text, was made up of as much text as someone could read in one breath. In his Ephesians commentary, Stephen Bow says, "The end of the period was a place of particular focus and emphasis, since there was a pause while the speaker or reader took a breath and left the last few words in the audience's mind before starting up again. Rhythm and arrangement and breath division ruled the day for writing back then." So most likely, Paul didn't anticipate that this text would be seen or read as a single long sentence. He expected it to be broken into parts, into what we call periods, as it was read. We just don't know what he imagined these breath divisions would be. In order to try and maintain this more dynamic feel to the text, we'll use my translation without sentence breaks as we work our way through it, even though for practical purposes of video length, I'll have to break it up into several periods. Hopefully, this brief look at Paul's long sentence will give us an imaginative framework for working through it. We'll start with verse 3 in the next video.